Have you ever felt like you're running full speed, chasing goals, but deep down you're not even sure if they're the right goals? Like you're checking all the boxes, but something still feels off? That's the power and the pain of a lack of clarity. And trust me, I've been there. In today's episode, we're diving deep into what it really means to find clarity, not just in your goals, but in who you are, what you value, and how you want to show up in this world. I'll share a personal story about a time I had to make a tough decision that tested my clarity, and we'll explore the exact steps you can take to reconnect with your purpose and move forward with confidence. So grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's get clear, because clarity isn't something you wait for. It's something you generate. And today, my friend, we're going to do just that. Welcome to Goals and Grace, the podcast for accomplished women who are ready to align their ambition with faith and step into their highest potential. I'm Reverend Juliet Spencer, a certified high-performance coach and former pastor, and I'm here to help you break free from imposter syndrome, embrace gratitude, and lead with clarity, purpose, and peace. Each week, I'll share faith-filled encouragement, personal stories, and proven strategies from high-performance habits, and my coaching program called the Purpose and Peace Pathway to help you achieve success without apology. You'll walk away with tools to lead boldly, live intentionally, and honor the calling on your life. Let's step into our calling together. Don't forget to follow this podcast and share it with a friend who's ready to grow. Have you ever felt like you're running on a treadmill, working harder than ever before, but still feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unfulfilled? Like you're chasing goals that don't even feel like yours? If that's you, my friend, you are not alone. And today, we're going to fix that. I'd like to share a story about a decision I made years ago. Not because it's the right choice for everyone, but because it taught me so much about clarity and trusting God's plan. Every woman's journey is different, and I honor the choices we all make to do what's best for our families and for ourselves. But a number of years ago, I made the tough decision to stay at a smaller church so I could be home when my kids got off the bus. It wasn't a decision I made lightly. I remember lying awake at night staring at the ceiling with this knot in the pit of my stomach. I kept asking myself, am I making the right choice? Will this decision close doors I've worked so hard to open? And deep down I wondered, am I shrinking back from my calling, or am I stepping into it in a way that I just can't see yet? But deep down, I knew this wasn't about ambition. It was about alignment. Now, before you ask, did I know 100% that God wanted me to do this? Did I hear the proverbial voice in the burning bush so that I would know without any doubt? Absolutely not. As much as I hoped and prayed for some kind of really obvious answer, it didn't come. But what did happen was I realized two important things. The first was that if God were trying to tell me something definitive, something really, really critical, and that there was only one right answer, then God clearly knew I wasn't getting the message. And that meant that God must be able to work with and redeem whichever decision I made. And the second thing, it told me that I could trust myself to know what would be in alignment with my core values. That clarity gave me the courage to trust God even when I didn't get that big, bold neon message in the sky. Although, let's be honest, that would have been awesome. Deep in my soul, I knew that God was calling me to step out and step up. God didn't call me into ministry to shrink back from my calling. Staying at the smaller church wasn't about playing small. It was about playing true. True to my values and true to my family. True to the trust that I preached each and every Sunday. I didn't have great ambitions of a particular size church or a specific place to be, but I did know that my calling would include offering myself in bigger leadership positions at some point. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the members of my small church, and I loved helping them step into their calling as a congregation. But I knew that at some point I would be expected to serve in a bigger way. And if I'm honest, I really wanted that for myself. In truth, I didn't know if staying would pigeonhole me in the eyes of denominational leadership. But I chose to trust the whisperings of my heart. In other words, I chose to trust that it was and would be a part of God's plan. As it turned out, that trust was definitely not misplaced because God did open doors in God's own timing and in ways that I could not possibly have imagined at the time. Getting clarity on two things made the difference. I knew my children had been through a lot of change and needed the continuity that staying would offer. And I was able to get clear on whether I believed my own sermons or if I was just talking the talk. In other words, would I actually live into what I proclaimed? That I could trust God with my present and my future? Walking the talk meant more than just staying at a smaller church. It meant showing up every single day with faith that God's plan was bigger than my fears. It meant preaching about trust and actually living it, praying not just for clarity, but for the courage to embrace it. And it meant leading my congregation with the conviction that alignment with God's will is the greatest form of leadership I could offer. Knowing who I wanted to be and what I valued made that decision so much clearer. I know other women would have made a different choice, and I deeply respect that. We all have unique callings, and clarity looks different for each of us. For some, it might mean stepping into a bigger role, but for others, it might mean staying exactly where they are. What matters most is that we make decisions that align with our values and the life we've been called to lead, because that's where true peace and purpose truly are found. Looking back, what this experience taught me is that clarity is everything. When we're clear about who we are and what we value, we can make even the hardest decisions with confidence and peace. For me, that clarity came from trusting that God would provide other opportunities. And let me tell you, God certainly did. I share this story not to say that my choice was the right one, but to encourage you to reflect on your own values. What kind of person do you want to be? What matters most to you? When you're clear on these things, you can face even the toughest decisions with grace and confidence. That experience taught me that clarity isn't just nice to have, it is absolutely essential. So, what is clarity exactly, and how do we cultivate it? Well, let's break it down. Clarity is your internal compass. It's knowing who you are, what you value, and how you want to show up in the world. It's also about getting clear on 4 key areas. Who am I? In other words, on yourself. What do you value? What kind of person do you want to be? And then in social situations or with other people, how do you want to treat others? What kind of relationships do you want to build? What strengths do you need to develop to live out your purpose? And finally, service. What difference do you want to make in the world, and what legacy do you want to leave? When you're clear in these areas, who you want to be, the relationships you want to have and what they'll look like, the skills you'll need to acquire or improve, and what kind of legacy you want to leave, then you'll be able to navigate life with intention and integrity. And that's where true peace and purpose are found. From a faith perspective, clarity isn't something we stumble upon. It's something we co-create with God. It's prayer, reflection, and faithful action coming together to give us direction. Think of it like this. God provides the compass, but we still have to take the steps. Without clarity, life just feels like a treadmill. You're running hard but going nowhere. You say yes to things that drain you and no to things that would actually fulfill you. And you end up climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. Decision-making becomes paralyzing, and inevitably, confidence takes a hit. I've seen it so many times. People working harder than ever but still unsatisfied. Why? Because they're climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. We've all been there. Working harder, climbing faster, only to realize that the ladder we're on isn't leading us to the life we actually want. It's exhausting. It's heartbreaking. And it's why so many of us feel stuck, overwhelmed, and unsatisfied, even when we're doing all the right things. But there is good news. When you gain clarity, you can move that ladder to the right wall and start climbing toward a life that's aligned with your purpose and values. I can't help but think about a client who consistently reported feelings of not only being overwhelmed, but she struggled with the sense that her life was busy because she was trying to do everything, all the things, at home and at work. But what that meant was that she really wasn't doing a great job in either arena. Maybe you understand exactly where she was coming from. I remember the moment it clicked for her. We were talking about her values, and she paused, looked at me, and said, "I've been so busy trying to prove that I can do all the things that I've forgotten who I actually want to be." That realization changed everything for her. From that point on, she started making decisions not based on what she could do, not based on what other people expected her to do or hoped she would do, not based on the things that other people left her to do because they knew if they didn't, she'd pick up the slack. When she gained clarity on who she wanted to be and the life she wanted to lead, she was able to say no to the things that didn't align. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, she realized that being her best meant that she had to do much more discerning about the things she agreed to take on. Now, I'll be honest. At first, saying no felt really uncomfortable, like she was letting people down. But as she started to see the results, everything changed for her. My client had more time for the things that really mattered, and she had more energy to give her family, and even more energy at work. She had more confidence in her ability to lead with purpose. And the best part? She felt peaceful for the first time in years. Before she gained clarity, she was overwhelmed, stretched too thin, and questioning constantly whether she was doing enough. But once she got clear on who she wanted to be and the life she wanted to lead, everything started to change. Saying no to the things that didn't align and yes to the things that really mattered, wow, a game changer. The results? She got to spend more time with her family, and she got to feel more energized in her purpose, and she showed up at work as her very best self. She was finally living the life she was meant to live. And you can only imagine the joy that brought her deep in her spirit. So let me ask you, is your ladder leading against the right wall? Are you saying yes to the things that align with your purpose, or are you trying to do all the things, but just left feeling stretched too thin? If you're overwhelmed or out of alignment, it's time to pause, reflect, and get clear on what matters most to you. This week, I challenge you to take 10 minutes to reflect on your ladder. What are you climbing toward? Does it align with your values and the life you want to lead? If not, what's one thing you can say no to this week to create more space for what really matters to you? Write it down, pray over it, and then take that step. Because clarity doesn't change just your direction, it changes your life. And if you're doubting that you can ever really get that kind of clarity, then let me tell you something, my friend, there is great news. Because clarity isn't a gift that falls from the sky. It's something we can actually cultivate. I like to think of clarity as a muscle. It's not a one-time revelation. It's something we strengthen over time through reflection, action, prayer, and practice. And so to help you strengthen that muscle, here's a simple 3-step process that you can start using today. Step 1, reflect on who you are. Ask yourself questions like, what do I value? What are my strengths? And what truly brings me joy? Take time really to sit with these questions. Write them down and pray over them. And if you're not sure how to answer, that's okay, because clarity grows in the asking. As Brendon Burchard says in his book, High Performance Habits, quote, "Clarity is the child of careful thought and mindful experimentation. It comes from asking yourself questions continually and further refining your perspective on life." End quote. Step 2, define what you really want. You would be shocked if I told you how many people have no idea what they actually want out of life, out of their relationships, out of their jobs, out of their families. It's mind-boggling, but it's all too common. So get specific about your goals and dreams. What do you want in each area of your life? In your relationships, your career, and your faith? And what do you want for your life as a whole? The more specific you can be, the easier it will be to align your actions with your purpose. Step 3, align your actions with your values. This is where clarity becomes real. The rubber hits the road, as it were. It's not just about knowing what you value, it's about living it. Look at your daily choices. Are they moving you closer to the person you want to become? If not, what small changes can you make today to get back on track? Don't wait for perfect clarity before you move. Start where you are. Try something new and pay attention to how it aligns or doesn't. How does it make you feel? It's just as important to figure out what we don't want and what we don't like as what we do. Clarity is often revealed as we take steps forward. So here's my encouragement for you today. If you're feeling uncertain about your purpose, don't pressure yourself to figure it all out at once. Instead, ask yourself one simple question. What's one thing I can do today that aligns with my values and brings me closer to the person I want to become? Maybe it's saying no to a commitment that doesn't serve you. Maybe it's spending 5 minutes journaling or reaching out to someone who inspires you. Maybe it's taking time today to go through the steps that I've outlined. Whatever it is, take that step today. Take one step and trust that clarity will follow. And I'd love to hear how you're pursuing clarity in your own life. Share your reflections with me on social media using the hashtag #GoalsAndGraceClarity. Because remember, clarity doesn't just change your direction, it changes your life. Thanks for joining me today, my friend. I'll see you next time on Goals and Grace. And if you find this podcast helpful, remember to follow me and share it with someone else who could use words of encouragement, words of goals and grace. In the meantime, God bless.